Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you decided to click on this video today. Before I start with the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of my new subscribers. I just had a big influx somehow for some reason, and I am just so grateful. It was so exciting to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. So anyways, just wanted to get that out of the way. Everyone that's new, welcome, and everyone that has already been here, welcome back. So you already know what this video is about because you clicked on it and you read the title, I assume. So today we are talking about Stephen King's newest book, You Like It Darker. This is a collection of 12 short stories and, in my opinion, some of King's best short stories. So I didn't think I'd be able to do this book justice if I just talked about it briefly because there's so many stories within this book and I wanted to give each of them the time to discuss. So this will not be part of my regular wrap-up, I'm just talking about this one. So as per usual with short story collections, there are better stories and ones I like less. Overall, I think that I really liked this. There was one that I gave 2 stars to and then a couple 3s, but I also had quite a few 5s. So let's start from the first story that is called Two Talented Bastids. And it took me a second, but that's saying bastards with like a New England accent, bastids. So that was funny to me. I gave this one a 4. This is about 2 friends who've been friends since high school, and they're both kind of very average in life, where they're going, nothing super stand out, and then they go on this hunting trip. And when they come back, they're suddenly so proficient. One of them is an artist and one is a writer. And they've both been kind of trying to make these things work as careers. And it's just not really happened. And they're in their 40s now. And all of a sudden they are so talented and getting all of these accolades and whatnot. And there's clearly something that happened out in the woods. And we are kind of seeing this from the beginning of the story. The writer's son is kind of going through his stuff after his father passed away and finds the story of how this all happened. So that one was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. It's definitely a little different than a lot of King's normal kind of, I don't want to say villains, but the plot devices? No, that's not right either. I don't know. It's definitely not his normal type of storyline. I'm just gonna go with that. I don't know. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was a really good story to open the book with. The second story is called The Fifth Step, and this is about a guy who is just sitting on a park bench, and this man comes up to him and is like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And they're, I think, in New York City, so he's like, "Please go away." There's so many, people just everywhere, and a lot of them up to no good. So he's like, "Please go away. Don't want to talk to you." And finally, he convinces him, and he's saying how he is doing the 12 steps. He was a drug addict, and so his sponsor is having him go tell all of his misdeeds in life to a person as part of step number 5. And so that's kind of where that one goes. He's like, "Fine, I'll listen to your whatever you've done that you need to be," I forget how they phrase it, but you know what I mean, forgiven for, essentially. And I initially, my gut reaction is to give this one a 3.5. I liked it. The end, though, it gets a 5 for shock value because I did not see that ending coming. This was definitely a shorter one, not one of my favorites out of the book, but I did really like it. The next one was called Willie the Weird, and I just wrote "wow" in my notes for this one. So this follows a young, I think he's maybe 10 or 11 year old kid named Willie, and he's definitely an outcast from his family. He's definitely a little strange, and so his older sister's always making fun of him, and he doesn't really get along with anyone at school. But he does find a really close friend in his grandfather, who will lock themselves in their grandfather's bedroom, and they will just have these long story times. His grandpa will tell him these stories about when he fought in the Civil War and when he was like building the pyramids in Egypt. And I mean, I definitely thought, like, am I missing something? Because that's, it was kind of weird. And Grandpa also has, like, a strange habit of, like, he's always, like, rubbing right here. So they have a strange relationship, and I feel like I'm just going to leave it at that. It's not, like, a gross, weird relationship. It's just weird. And some crazy things happen, and the ending of that one was really chilling. Like, gave me goosebumps. So definitely enjoyed that one. Again, that one is also pretty short, just a couple, maybe 10 pages. The next one is called Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, and this is more of a novella. This is almost 200 pages, I think, and this was easily my favorite story in the book. So this, I mean, I don't know, like, side note, I love Stephen King's short stories and I love his novels and whatever, but I feel like his like novellas that are just like 100 to 200 pages, I feel like that's where he does his best work. Because sometimes in short stories, I'm like, I don't feel like that. I feel like that could have been expanded upon. And, we all know if you follow Stephen King and read his books that like he can overwrite sometimes. It's all great writing and really fun to like immerse yourself, but like there are definitely times when I'm like, did we need this entire like paragraph about this whatever? So I think this is like the perfect length. So this one is about a man named Danny Coughlin who is just kind of like living his life. He is a custodian at a high school, and he one day has this dream that he is at this like old gas station, and there's like a dog that is coming up, and they live in Oklahoma. This dog comes up to him, and then he sees that there is like a person's arm reaching out of the ground, and the dog is like trying to bite it and eat it. So he like chases the dog away, and then he like wakes up. And for some reason, he is absolutely haunted by this dream. He can't get it out of his head. He's like, where was that? He's like, is that a real place? And so he like Googles it, he finds out, and he's like, I need to go see if there's really like a body buried there, because there was like basically no reason for him to have seen in his dream this particular place and then be able to actually track it down. So he goes out there, and what do you know? It's real. And so he is trying to figure out, how do I report this crime? Because why would I know that this is here? No one's going to believe me that it came to me in a dream. So he's in a tricky spot. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if saying anything else would be spoilery, but basically there is this one detective who is absolutely determined to prove Danny's guilt. And there is no changing his mind. And it's funny because I was thinking the whole time, and then Stephen King actually mentions it in like the author's note, that this is so like kind of symbolic of Les Mis and Javert's obsession with catching Valjean. And it's funny because the character is actually named Jalbert. Yes, Jalbert. Jalbert. So I guess it could be Jalbert, but once I got the Javert thing in my head, I started pronouncing it Jalbert. So he's just, bound and determined to find this guy and like get him. And so it kind of just goes from there with Danny trying to prove that he's innocent while also trying not to create more suspicion. And yeah, his like, life is falling apart while this cop is like doing shady stuff. Anyways, it was fantastic. I really loved this. I like kind of want to read it again just because of how much I enjoyed it the first time, but we'll see. The next one is Finn, which was previously released in, I think, a different, like a magazine or something like that. So this wasn't brand new, but I had never read it. This is basically a case of mistaken identity. Two men are like running in opposite directions. They bump into each other and then continue back on their separate ways. They're both wearing like hoodies and jeans. So our main character, Finn, gets abducted by like some people that, are not so good, and he gets drawn into this hostage type situation. So that's the basis of it. I mean, I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars, but it just doesn't, I don't think it did anything novel for me. It wasn't my favorite, but like, I'm glad I read it. The next one is On Slide-In Road, which I gave 3 stars to. So this was pretty average for me. This is just about a family who is going to visit like grandpa's sister before she passes away, and he like tells them a shortcut to go. They get stuck in the mud or something because the road's really bad, and then they run into two baddies. Not in the good way. So that's kind of how that one goes, you know, when the baddies have guns and whatever. So yeah, that is that. I didn't find anything super novel about it. It was, you know, entertained me, but it quickly went out of my head. The next one is called Red Screen. I actually had already previously read this one as well. This was like a bonus story if I like donated a little money to something. It was years ago. So yeah, this is a 2 for me, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I've now read it twice, and I don't remember anything about it. It's a really short one. I think it's maybe like 10 pages, but I do not remember what it's about at all. So I'm gonna leave that one as a big surprise for all of you. Literally, I even like just opened my book and like looked through it to just like catch some keywords to like refresh my memory. Nothing. Totally gone. So needless to say, Red Screen, not the vibe for me. The next one is called The Turbulence Expert. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was really clever, but definitely was, I think, missing a little more explanation, which is, you know, bound to happen in a short story collection. So this is about a man whose job it is to go get on planes that would otherwise crash, and he is like the reason they don't. He's terrified of turbulence, and in order to like have this job, you have to be really scared of turbulence. And so basically this company calls and says, hey, this is the flight you're going to work today, and you are going to, you know, make sure they don't crash or whatever. So like stuff that's on the plane will like, still bad things will happen. There'll be crazy turbulence, whatever. It could still seem really dangerous, but it won't be. Everything will be fine. And so that's just kind of how it is, and then he starts talking to his seatmates, and it goes from there. I thought this was clever. I think this would make a really cute TV series, because it definitely was not like really scary in any way. It was, yeah, it was just cute. And yeah, I think it would be a cool thing to see in like different episodes. Yeah, that's my opinion on that one. The next story is called Laurie, and I gave this one 5 stars. So this is about a man whose wife is recently passed away. He's very like lonely, and his sister is very worried about him as far as how he's coping. So she gets him a dog. He does not want this dog at all. He names it Laurie, and you know, they're starting to become friendly. So this is a really like sweet story, I think, kind of just about the power of like our love for our pets and how much they just get into your heart. So this was like, oh, I mean, it had, I guess, something somewhat scary, but generally I just thought this was sweet. The next one was called Rattlesnakes. I gave this 5 stars. Loved it. This is like another kind of longer story. So clearly those are my favorites. This is a little shorter than Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, but it's still, I think, around 140 pages or so. So this is sort of a sequel to Cujo, which if you've watched my Stephen King videos, you know is like bottom tier for me of Stephen King books. I am not a fan of Cujo at all. But this I love. So this one is following a character from Cujo named Vic Trenton, who, retiring, kind of trying to get away from it all, he goes and stays in his friend Greg's house on Rattlesnake Key. And he's just trying to kind of like get away from the world. He's, you know, it's hard. He lost his wife and his son to Cujo, basically, and so he's still kind of going through it. So on this Rattlesnake Key, it's very small little little island for like residential basically, and he meets this woman named Mrs. Bell. And she is around his age, like in her 60s or so, and she's like walking around with a stroller that has two little children's outfits on, like, just on the chairs in the stroller. And it's very strange, and she acts as though these are her twin boys who actually, like 30 years earlier, had been killed by rattlesnakes. So at the end of their first interaction, Mrs. Bell says something kind of weird and ominous. She says, "I know they're not there, but sometimes they are." I feel like Vic really takes that to heart and takes a lot of meaning from it. So then, this isn't, I don't know if it's not a spoiler. We're going to go with that. Mrs. Bell is found dead. So it all goes from there, a lot to do with this particular rattlesnake key and just grief, and I just thought it was incredible. I loved this so much, especially because I think I like went in with lower expectations just based on the fact that I don't like Cujo. So next one is called The Dreamers. I gave this one 3 stars. I thought it was fine, but just unmemorable. So this is about a man who has just done 2 tours in Vietnam, and it's just right after the war ends, and he is trying to find a job. He moves back in with his parents, and he starts taking stenography courses because that is like the only thing he knows. Like, he doesn't feel like he has a lot of prospects, so he takes these classes, he gets really good at it, and he is working at a temp agency. And he does end up finding this job posting for a scientist who wants someone to, you know, come take notes for his experiments. And so he goes and he gets this job, but it is not what he thought it would be. It is not how it seemed, and some weird stuff going on. This was kind of a little more paranormal-ish. Heavy on the ish. So, yeah. I thought it was a pretty average story. It was good, but it just didn't stick out to me in any way. And the last story in this is called The Answer Man. I gave this one 5 stars. I thought it was really good. Definitely more of a, like, thought-provoking story like Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption versus like a little creepy, scary one. So this is about a man who stumbles upon this man set up that says The Answer Man, like, answers 5 minutes for $3 or something, first minute free. And basically this guy has the answers to any question, but you have to know how to ask it in the right way, and you can't say, should I do this or this? So our main character, Phil, has been toiling over whether he should move with his new wife to this like cute town that he loved to go to as a kid, or stay where he is and join his dad's law firm. So, you know, he's torn up about it, but he asks these questions like, will Sally, his wife, like, leave me if we move up here? Well, and so he gets his answers. It's fine. Then a few years later, they have a kid. He goes and asks questions about his son, gets some answers, and then as time goes on, it's just like he's getting the correct answers, yes, but not the way he thinks things will actually play out. So it was just a really good, like, thought-provoking story. I really enjoyed the ending, and I think this was definitely top 5 of the stories in here. So those are all my thoughts and opinions on You Like It Darker. I thought this was just such a good read. I devoured it in 2 days, and now, of course, I'm, like, sad because I won't have another Stephen King book to read for, like, another year. But luckily, this man can churn out a novel like that. Anyways, I loved this, and I hope you are enjoying it if you have read it. If you have, I would love to know what your favorite stories were. If you haven't, I would love to know which one sounded the best to you. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!